In this video, I ask and hopefully answer three main questions. What is the final product of Escape from Tarkov supposed to be? What is the game in its current state? And how are they doing in achieving their goal? What up, this is Gimmick, and I've been playing EFT for a while now, but even I have had a pretty foggy view on exactly what the devs are ultimately trying to do. So whether you're someone looking for more information on whether this is a game you want to invest in, or you've been playing a while and just want some clarification or reminders on where this game is heading, here we go. The devs claim this will primarily be a story-driven game despite its online foundations. Now, we don't know anything about the specifics of how we fit into that story other than we're trying to escape and we're part of one of two factions, but we do know a bit about the world Battlestate has created. EFT takes place in Battlestate's larger universe they call Russia 2028. Their previous game, Contract Wars, actually shares this world. Tarkov is a fictional city in this world, and it's in the region of Russia that became the gateway between Russia and Europe. This attracted a lot of international companies, and not all of them were upstanding. Shit hit the fan, and the region exploded into political scandal and eventually armed conflict between the UN, the Russian government, and two private military companies. The player is a part of one of these two private military companies, USEC or Bear. USEC works for the corrupt Terra Group. It's an international corporation with perfect American accents, so we can guess where they're from. Or Bear, which is a company that works for the Russian government. As a USEC, you're trying to hinder investigations into the Terra Group. As Bear, you're trying to help investigate the Terra Group. And there you have your two opposing factions. Now, the entire region was evacuated during the conflict, but some opportunists stayed behind and formed gangs, and these are the Scavengers, or Scavs as we call them, and that makes up the NPC faction. And we don't know much beyond that, but we do know that as a player, you've survived the brunt of this conflict and are now trying to escape the city, which has been quarantined. And connecting the dots, it isn't too much of a stretch to say there was probably some kind of nuclear event, and eventually I think they're implementing, radiation and whatnot into the game. So something bad happened. Now for the interesting stuff. What kind of game will this be? Well, let's let Battlestate speak for themselves. This is actually an excerpt I took from a FAQ they posted in 2015. I'll link that FAQ below. I got a lot of this information from there. But yeah, so they say the first and essential mode will be available with the game release, the story mode. The game session, typically an hour or an hour and a half long, will take place on a large, about 5 to 10 square kilometers, open location. The player will have to consecutively clear all of these raid scenarios with several possible exits, each determined by the game story. By completing one scenario, the player unlocks the next one. Players can return to the previously unlocked scenarios and search for particular loot or more detailed exploration, which can lead to uncovering of side quests and locations. When all scenarios, there will be about 10 of them, are completed, a free roam mode will be unlocked. In this mode, the player can move around a 15 square kilometer area without any time limits. Moreover, the game is going to have an arena mode, which closely resembles gladiator fights. Thus, although EFT technically does have a session in the scenario mode, it is only determined by the story, where a player's character has to escape from Tarkov. The free roam mode will have no time limitations, and in the arena, the game session will be limited by the death either of the player's character or his adversary. So there you have it. I could have put that in my own words, but I felt like that was pretty much as succinct as you can get. And in addition to that, apparently you'll also be able to do things like rob banks in Tarkov, and that sounds pretty awesome. Now, the quest system we've already seen a glimpse of, but I'm fairly positive that the system as it is now is actually the side quest system that they kind of mentioned in the thing I just read. That's a guess, but I think the main story quests are going to be different. I don't think they'll be handed out by the traders. which is great news because I'll talk about it later, but I freaking hate the current quests. They're so not uninspired, I'll say. But currently these side quests not only get you to certain item rewards, but they actually boost your reputation with certain traders, so you can unlock the ability to purchase more stuff from them. Now, like the quests, there will be other RPG elements, including character skills. You level these skills up by performing certain actions during gameplay. For example, eating gives you experience in the metabolism skill, throwing grenades increases your strength, and so on. Battlestate themselves have compared the skill system they want to implement as something similar to what you would find in the Elder Scrolls games. And that's another thing that sounds pretty awesome. Now, beyond what these skills do in the current state of the game, they do give you certain benefits. They also plan to have these skills unlock to new things like weapon grips. Like, you can only use a certain weapon grip if you're a certain level and a certain skill. You're going to be able to use meds smarter. Maybe you'll be able to heal 2 limbs at once. They just recently implemented, so you can only do 1 at a time. I don't know what it's going to be, but these skills will kind of determine things like that. And that also sounds pretty sweet. So the current inventory system is grid-based. It's pretty self-explanatory. If you bring out or find a bigger backpack or chest rig, you'll be able to fit more items into that. If you die before the extract, you lose all that you have, except for a very small secure container that's kind of locked onto your character. So that's usually what you bring, like your medical stuff, or you can fit a pistol in there. It depends on which one you have. You can unlock better ones as you go. There will eventually also be a clan system that the players can form within the BarbieQ factions. You can be a combat-centered clan or even an economy-based one that has its own traders. Getting rich with a loot collecting clan that puts up its own trader sounds pretty damn awesome to me. I'm kind of the guy who just loves loot hoarding, and sounds good. Now, unless you've literally done no research, you're already aware that Tarkov is striving to be as realistic as possible, from the crazy, amazing gun modding to the shooting physics to the medical system. Escape from Tarkov is a proud, hardcore shooter. And one other little nugget, they actually plan to release this on Steam someday, so that is pretty sweet. So unless you have incredibly bad taste, that all sounds awesome. But how does Escape from Tarkov look right now? Does it look anything like what I just described? I'll say right off the bat, if you're buying Tarkov with the expectation to experience the game I just described, you are going to be very disappointed. I like to describe the current Tarkov as a match-based loot collecting simulator. Now, that's not meant to be an insult. If you're anything like me, you love games where loot hoarding is a focus, but it is unfortunately true that the rest of the game is still off in the future. Now, there are little parts that they've implemented, like I said, the quest system. There's a few of the skills are unlocked, but they're not really adding much to the game as it is right now. They're just kind of slowly putting these things out, I think, to test them. And you currently choose one of 4 maps to hop in, grab what you can, and get out, and you sell it for cash or you save it for a future run. That's it. That's what you do in Tarkov. And it sounds super simple, and it is super simple, but hear me out. The gameplay in this game is so good and so tense that you would be surprised how fun this can be. That simple act of popping into a map and seeing what loot you can get and get out of there is incredibly fun. Now, unfortunately, little critical moments here. The recently released questing system ruins a lot of this game for me. I feel like they should have waited to release this until some of the other RPG elements were more fleshed out, or released it with, with the open world. I don't know, it just feels like a tedious obstacle right now to access better loot in the traders. And not to mention that the quests are just generic fetch quests or basic kill quests, and they really add nothing to the game except being a loot wall for traders. But that being said, if you're new, I don't think this is going to be as big of a deal. The first time you play through this game, if I was playing through Tarkov for the first time right now, accumulating the loot and leveling my character up and all that, it would be so fun that the questing part probably wouldn't matter as much, especially the first time you run through them. So let me be clear, if you haven't played this game and you're thinking about buying it, even in its current state, it is worth buying. It is the most tense, most satisfying shooter I have ever played, and I've been playing shooters for a very long time. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't worried about whether Battle State may have bitten off a little more than they could chew, though. The content coming out is incredibly slow, especially since they initially claimed that the full finished game would come out Q2 of 2016. Here we are about to enter 2018, and it's still essentially in alpha. Now, I say that because even though they officially said it's beta, I think that was just kind of a bone that they were throwing to try to appease people. Very little changed when they switched from alpha to beta. It was pretty much just a token change. A true beta, I think, would have all or most of the maps and content released so you can actually test it. Like, so much of the game isn't even out. We can't even test it. So how is it in beta? It's clearly an alpha game right now, despite saying that it's in beta. Now, I'm a bit of a fanboy, so I want to give the devs the benefit of the doubt in this, but honestly, they haven't exactly had a great track record so far with the community. They've mocked Australian players who were literally locked out of the game for an extended period of time due to the lack of servers. They've essentially broken consumer protection laws and their terms of service. They withdrew NDAs from content creators for voicing like super fair, constructive criticism. And they've generally just failed at PR across the board. But damn it, despite all this, Tarkov is just so fun to play. They've put together a game that feels like it's a AAA game with this small team of devs, and hell, they're Russian, so I don't know, maybe their shady, cranky personas maybe, add to their charm a little bit. All that being said, I'm still rooting for this game, and while I'm taking a little break from going ham on it like I was before, I do plan on staying up to date and honestly inevitably jumping headfirst again at some point. So if they deliver on half of their promises, it's still gonna be a hell of a game. So sorry if I pissed off some of the fanboys, but know that I am one of you, and the best way to ensure something grows and gets better is to be honest about its flaws. So that's it. You agree with what I said? Disagree with what I said? Tell me why in the comments below. I am all ears. But that is it for this video. Just a little kind of glimpse on the current state of Tarkov and where it is hopefully headed. Hopefully this got you excited more than it got you disappointed. But, gotta be real. We gotta be real. So yeah, tell me why everything I said was wrong in the comments below, and I will read them and cry myself to sleep.